Hey gamers, this is Davidson from Beyond Solitaire, and today I'm going to be reviewing the Alexis Solo Mode for Welcome 2 from Deepwater Games. In a game of Welcome 2, your goal is to build the nicest possible suburban neighborhood by filling in the streets of your neighborhood, getting interesting construction bonuses that'll get you more points, and racing to be the first to complete one or more of these city projects. Every turn, you're going to place a number on one of the houses in the streets. And of course, the challenge is that just like on a real street, you need your addresses to go in ascending order from lowest number to highest. So you have to be careful where you put numbers when you're drawing cards and don't know what future numbers are going to look like. On each turn, you're also going to choose a construction bonus that'll do a number of different things for you. If you take a fence, you can split the houses off into estates, which helps you complete projects. You can use your real estate agent to bump up the value of estates in your neighborhood. You can use a temp worker to adjust the numbers on your cards. You can build pools and parks to get extra points. And if you're feeling a little bit risky, you can use a BIS at the expense of some points to double a house number on any of your streets, which helps if you get yourself in a bit of a bind in terms of the addresses you've put down already. Welcome 2 does have a solo game in box, but what I'm going to be mostly focusing on for this review is the Alexis Solo Mode, which is an expansion that you can get for about $5 on the Deepwater Games website. In a standard out-of-the-box solo game of Welcome 2, what you'll do is you will draw 3 cards at a time. The multiplayer game does work differently, so it has different rules. And you will basically choose one of these cards for its number, one of these cards for its effect, which you can either see on the back or you can see a preview of in the top corner of the card, and then one card you're going to discard. So again, use 2 out of 3 cards, one for the number, one for the effect, and then one goes to discard. So just to show a little bit of the thought process, let's say that I have this 7, this 13, and this 8. I might choose the 13 for the number. And the reason that I would do that is because 7 and 8 are kind of middling numbers, and this is the first hand that I've drawn. So if I put a 7 somewhere, I'm really taking a lot of guesses about where I'm going to want to put house numbers, because remember, if I put a 7 right here, these numbers all have to be lower than 7, and these numbers all have to be higher than 7. So being careful about where you place your numbers is a key aspect of strategy. So I'm going to take the 13 as a number. I might take the 8 as a fence. So the reason I might do that is because let's say that I know that I want to complete some projects. I can then place fences in places where I think I'm going to put more address numbers. So if I have this 13, let's say that I want to put it right here, close to the end of the street, but not all the way. And then with a fence, I know the first project is going to require several estates that just have 2 houses on them. So I might take the fence to draw a fence right here, and then when I get another number that's larger than 13, I can pop it right into that address and have a 2-house estate. Then I would discard this card and go ahead and draw another 3. So the game would proceed like this as I make choices for numbers and construction bonuses throughout the game. So this one I'm excited about, so we're just going to play one more. I have a 2 and a pool, so you know I'm going to play this 2 for the number. I'm going to play the 4 for the pool and put this aside because I want to do a 2 and a pool. Now I would get 3 points for pools. So basically play would continue this way until I met one of the end conditions. So the end conditions in Solo Welcome 2 are you run out of cards in the construction deck, or the ones from the standard game. So you attempt to build 3 times, but your permit is denied. What that means is that you messed up on your numbers and you can't place any of the cards that you've drawn numerically. So if you've filled in all of your high numbers and then you only get high numbers in your next hand, you can't place a building, then you have to cross one of these off. The other 2 ways to win the game are to fill in every single house number on every single street, thus ending the game because you can't place any more houses, or when one player builds all 3 projects. In standard solo, there's also a special solo project card that you shuffle into the bottom of your construction deck in order to let you kind of artificially know when you can no longer get full points for projects. So the first player to score for a project gets the point value on the left, which is higher. The second gets the point value on the right. So the purpose of the solo card that you normally would shuffle in is to let you know when to flip these and assume that you can only get the lower number for any project you complete from that point on. Alexis Solo Mode, however, works differently, and I'm going to show you how it works. It starts with getting an opponent. So when you play with Alexis, you are going to choose one of these solo opponents, and these cards are double-sided, so you can choose a number of different difficulty levels. 6 is the hardest one in the deck, and then 1 would be the easiest, and then you have a couple of special bonus cards that are based on people who had to do with the design of the game. Each of the cards is very, very simple and will just come with some basic point values that will give you way more of a challenge than the original solo mode would, and in my opinion, even in the multiplayer game. Remember how I said that when you play solo, you draw 3 cards and you keep 1 for the number, 1 for the effect, and then discard the third? Well, what the Alexis Solo Mode does is it capitalizes on your discard pile in order to give different amounts of points to the AI depending on who you're playing against. So in the easiest AI, you give them a free point for every park, pool, or temp agency and fence. And then the BIS will increase potentially the number of houses in their estates, and the realtor will multiply the value of houses in certain estates. So these two numbers over here are particularly punishing. The top right of the card is going to show you how each of your opponents will score for projects. And the way that works is, remember how I told you that in out-of-the-box solo, you shuffle 1 card into the bottom of the construction deck? With the Alexis Solo Mode, you're going to shuffle 3 different project cards into the bottom of your construction deck. So as they come up in order, you decide based on your AI card whether the AI is going to score for the first project that comes up. It could be 1, 2, or 3. The second project that comes up, and then the third project that comes up. And each AI will have different project scoring numbers as well. Part of what this does for the game is it forces you to play differently every time, because you don't just pay attention to the cards you take for yourself, which you do in both the multiplayer and out-of-the-box solo versions of the game. Instead, you also have to pay attention to what you're throwing away, because discarding a pool just gives this guy 1 point, but it gives her 3 points. And if you're not careful about where you put your real estate agents, this person can have their estate values multiplied by as many as 4 times. This way of playing the game forces you to pay attention to every single card that comes to your hands, because both things that you keep and the things that you discard can have pretty serious consequences for your in-game score. So I'll say right away, I've always been a fan of Welcome 2. It's one of my absolute favorite roll and writes, but I think the Alexis Solo Mode brings it something extra special. What the Alexis Solo Mode does is gives you something to do with that discard. And I really like the extra layer of play that it adds to the game. So instead of just making the best choice for me, which is something that you do in any game of Welcome 2, the Alexis Solo Mode gives you a special way of interacting with an opponent that doesn't even exist in the multiplayer game. So in some ways, I feel like the solo is more special because you have to watch what you're discarding, because everything that you discard is going to benefit your opponent. I also think the Alexis Solo Mode pushes Welcome 2 to the next level, because even in a multiplayer game, you're really just trying to get the highest score. But in many ways, the Alexis Solo Mode really gives you somebody to beat, especially because at the higher levels, those scores that the opponent is going to get are going to be huge. And winning that game is going to be very difficult. So I would actually say the Alexis Solo Mode gives you more of a push to challenge yourself as a player for Welcome 2, because if you're playing against a tougher one, then you're really dealing with an opponent that is maybe better than most of the humans you're ever going to encounter who play the game. The other thing I particularly like about the solo mode is that using it doesn't necessarily impact your gameplay very much in terms of upkeep. So you have to think about what you're discarding, but you don't have to do anything with the Alexis solo mode except for keeping track of whether it's going to score for projects and keeping its discard pile in order, which you were already going to do anyway in the normal course of play. So I'm a big fan of low upkeep solo modes, and this one really, really fits the bill because there's very little you have to do until scoring. That said, my one complaint about the Alexis Solo Mode was that figuring out exactly how to do the scoring wasn't the clearest from the rules that I was given, so I had to try it a few times before it clicked. So now that I know how it works, I'm having a blast with it. I think it's absolutely fabulous. But I think the first time you read the rules, it's not the clearest what you're supposed to do, and that there could have been maybe a second example of how to score with a different opponent, or just a little bit more care put in how to score for each type of card that goes into the discard pile to give to Alexis. Overall, however, this is one of the best executed solo modes that I've seen for any game in a long time. I think it's fabulous, and it's going to stay in my collection for a long time. I highly recommend that if you're interested in solo play and you like Welcome 2, that you check it out. Happy gaming.
Thanks so much for watching another Dice Tower video. If you enjoy our videos, subscribe to the channel for more fun, comprehensive board game coverage. Also, consider joining us at one of our events. Come to Dice Tower Retreat, a small, intimate gathering where gaming is king. Join us for Dice Tower Cruise, the largest board game cruise. Attend Dice Tower West in Las Vegas for gaming fun on the West Coast, or Dice Tower East in Orlando in sunny Florida. Dice Tower Conventions, the friendliest gaming conventions on Earth. I'm Eric Summerer, and you've been watching The Dice Tower.